Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Caraway, the makers of non-toxic ceramic coated cookware that looks beautiful and works great. I'm going to be using Caraway's big frying pan today in today's recipe, and I'm really pleased with the build quality and just general look of these pans, and most of all, they work really well. The construction is really sound, the pans have a nice weight to them, and the finish is really lovely and non-stick. I find cleanup really easy, and I often just use a paper towel just to wipe up any excess crumbs. My favorite thing to cook in them are eggs, omelets in particular, because the eggs don't stick. And the set comes with an organizer, which makes for really convenient storage and is a great way to protect your non-stick surface. So even though I try to be really careful with my non-stick pans using wooden or plastic utensils, I have experienced scratching in the past, and so far this pan has been great. No scratching, chipping whatsoever, and it still remains non-stick. So I'm so pleased with the non-stick surface of these pans. I'm actually considering doing the tornado egg recipe. Have you seen that video where they crack beaten eggs and make this beautiful swirled tornado that they place over rice? Yeah. So if you'd like to try Caraway for yourself, click the link down below to receive 10% off. Big thanks to Caraway for sponsoring this video and for allowing me to make better videos for all of you. Today I'm going to be using this very pan to poach some eggs. Now what I find interesting about this particular technique is that we're going to be poaching all the eggs at one time, meaning we're going to crack all the eggs into one bowl and then dump them all at the same time and poach them all at the same time, which I find shocking, frankly. How do they not stick together? I mean, I've seen plenty of egg poaching videos where the eggs are cracked carefully into the water, or even cracked into bowls and gently placed into the water, not just dumped all into one pot. I saw this initially on Xiaoying Cuisine's video. I'll put a link down below to their video. But then when I was researching it more, I saw that Kenji Lopez Alt also had a short video of doing 30 eggs at one time like this. So I said, okay, this might actually be a thing. And then I thought, I loved a poached egg. I've never done this technique before, so let's see how it goes. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I found interesting about this technique is doing the poaching in a shallower pan like this, like a deeper set frying pan, rather than doing it in the small saucepan like I've always done. So yeah, but then I found a video that Alton Brown did, and he actually suggests using a deep frying pan. So we're going to add some water to our pan and bring this up to temp. Now Alton, being Alton, gives us specific measurements in terms of depth of water. And he says 1.5 inches. Nice. So for this particular pan, which is 12 inches in diameter, that is 2 liters of water. But I like the depth measurement because everyone's pan is going to be a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to bring this up to a boil, but we're not going to cook it at a boil. We're going to cook this at 190 degrees F. So to ensure that we have the proper temperature, I'm going to add a probe thermometer, and I'm not going to let it touch the bottom of my pan. The water's quite cold. We are at 77 degrees. So if you don't have a probe thermometer or even a thermometer, you can still poach eggs. What I've done in the past is bring it so that you just start to see small bubbles appearing at the bottom of the pan, but it's not boiling yet. That's generally where I have found to be a good temperature. I've seen other recipes where they say you bring the water up to a boil, then turn off the heat, and then poach your eggs by making your little vortex or your little swirly in the middle and dropping your eggs in that way. So there are lots of different ways of doing it. It's just about managing that heat, not to have it at a rolling temperature. Although in Xiaoying's video, I did see that there was some simmering, but their poached eggs tend to be a little bit harder cooked. So if you're not concerned about having eggs that are harder in the center, then I don't think temperature is that much of an issue. But if you really want that kind of runny yolk, that's what I think of when I think of a poached egg, a runnier, like an Eggs Benedict or something like that, then I think keeping the proper temperature or a lower temperature is more important. So while that's actually coming up to temperature, let's go ahead and prepare the eggs. So today I'm going to be using store-bought eggs. As many of you know, I do have a backyard flock, but I learned something while researching poached eggs that I really wanted to share with you, and that is this. So on your package of eggs, there's an expiration date. But what's really interesting is that there's a 3-digit number right here. Yeah, in my case, it's 117. And that is actually based on the Julian calendar. So these were packaged on the 117th day of this year. So if you're looking at a bunch of eggs in the store, you can just look at that 3-digit number. And the one that has the biggest number is going to be the eggs that were packaged most recently. Both Alton and Kenji shared that. I had no idea that there was a reference to the Julian calendar on store-bought eggs. Just didn't know that. I've seen this done, and I've never done it for my own poached eggs, to be honest. But cracking your egg into a strainer or a colander, that will separate out some of the kind of more watery part of the egg white. And that's oftentimes what clouds up the water when you're poaching your eggs. It's that kind of runny egg white. So I'm going to do that with all 6 eggs. This is kind of nuts to me. Video that I saw of Kenji's, this is how the eggs were prepared, and they were poured right into the hot water. So that's what I'm going to do. Oh my gosh, look how yellow those yolks are. Gorgeous. There are tiny bubbles beginning to form there. And we are at 145 degrees, so not quite there. 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar. White vinegar will do. Rice wine vinegar. 1 tablespoon of that. And that helps tighten and coagulate the eggs, the proteins in the eggs, so that they form a little bit faster, maybe a little plumper. Now, some people say you can salt your water. Some people say don't salt your water. I'm going to go with unsalting the water because you can put salt on it afterwards if you like. Do you know what this little beautiful thing is? I've yet to use it. This is an egg coddler. Isn't it lovely? I found this at an antique store. It's a British egg coddler. Isn't that great? So you place your egg in there. Imagine you have a little string or something. Drop it into some simmering water. I'm not sure how high the water is supposed to go. British friends, if you've used an egg coddler, please let me know. And then you cook your egg in here, usually soft-boiled, take the lid off, and then you can dip your toast into it. If you know anything about this, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear more about how old this is and how to use it. So now I'm beginning to see we are at 167 degrees, 68, and I'm beginning to see larger bubbles begin to form at the bottom of the pan, and they're just starting to kind of pop. Okay, we're at temp. Now I'm going to reduce the heat. Now we're going to add all 6 of our eggs into the water. Now I'm going to leave the thermometer in there because we want to continue cooking this at 190 degrees. So increase the temperature just a little bit. Oh, I was supposed to remove those bubbles at the bottom of the pan before adding my eggs. So remember to do that. That's purely for aesthetic reasons. Alton says to do that so that we don't have any divots on the bottom of our eggs. So I just dumped all the eggs in there. Now Kenji says they all have these kind of little bags around themselves, which looks like that's happening, and it doesn't look like they're sticking. Alton says we begin cooking these for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. That was probably already 30 seconds. We're at 184 degrees. The temperature is good, but notice that we're not boiling, no rapid boiling at all. The water is a little bit cloudy. In another Shaoyin cuisine video, they poach eggs by steaming them in little bowls that have a little bit of water in them, which I thought was a really interesting way of cooking them as well. But many people do not have large steamers in their kitchens, so I thought maybe this would be a more accessible way to make a bunch of poached eggs at one time. Alrighty, lovelies, let's go ahead and give our eggs a test. Now I'm using a silicone spatula to just gently nudge any of them that are sticking, but they are not sticking. And then I'm going to lift them up and then use my slotted spoon to drain any excess water off. And look at that. Look at that. That's the perfect poached egg. beautifully jiggly. Look at the shape. Isn't that lovely? Now, if I want to serve this right away, I'm gonna blot this off. So gorgeous. If I wanna hold these eggs, say my bacon's not quite ready yet, I'm gonna grab my egg and then dunk it into some ice water. Look at that beautiful shape, right into the cold water. Now the ice water is to stop the cooking so that our eggs aren't overcooked. We did have one egg that turned out kind of funny looking. And I think that was because I had them draining in the strainer too long. So don't drain them in the strainer for more than a minute or so, because the egg white I found stuck to the bottom of the strainer. So one turned out kind of like that. Perfectly edible and delicious. So say our bacon's ready, everything's ready to go. We're ready to serve our brunch and we're ready to serve our eggs. So get some hot water going, take your poached eggs and dunk them in there for about 30 seconds until they're just enough to warm them back up. Then drain them of any excess water like that and serve them right up. All right, my lovelies, look at my beautiful poached eggs. Aren't they lovely? Generally speaking, they all have that really lovely kind of egg shape. This one's a little bit misshapen right here, a little bit off center, but for dumping them all in, I'm pretty happy with them. Now, the whole reason why I mentioned the Julian calendar date on your eggs is because you want the freshest eggs. You have the tallest yolks, you have the firmest egg whites, and that will create the best poached eggs, plus they'll just taste the best. So that's the reasoning for trying to get the freshest eggs. If you don't have backyard hens or have a neighbor that keeps eggs or have a farmer's market nearby, try to find the eggs that are the freshest by looking at the date on the packaging. I like adding either green onions. I happen to have chives today, which look really sweet. I like adding a little black pepper, and I like adding a little tsuyu. Soy sauce will work too. This is just a little soup base, which has soy sauce in it. Not too much, it's quite salty. And that's it. Doesn't that look delectable? Okay, let's cut into it. Beautiful. Look at that yolk. Gorgeous. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. So good. Creamy. Tender. Fantastic. So good. So yes, indeed, you can poach a bunch of eggs at one time. I would recommend cracking them into a bowl. If you do a strainer like I did, do it right before you're going to place them into the water. Otherwise, you might get one that becomes misshapen. Or if you don't want to dump them all in at the same time, you can also just dump them into a small bowl and place them in one at a time that way as well, to make sure they each kind of retain their own shape. But the amazing thing is when you pour them all in together, they do not stick to each other. I thought it would be just some sort of tangled and snared mass, but really they just didn't stick to each other. Some of them were not the perfect shape. So if you're looking for that really perfect poached egg look, you can poach them individually by making that little vortex, or you can poach a bunch at one time in a pan like I did. Just place them individually very gently using a bowl, and that will keep them separate and keep all the egg whites nice and tidy. Thanks so much for watching, and big thanks to Caraway for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to try Caraway for yourself, click the link down below to receive 10% off. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! It's time to wear my mushroom.